Alright, you ready? Today I've got 5 of the most haunting Reddit stories I could find. If you enjoy it, hit subscribe and leave a like. Here we go. I, 24 years old, inherited my aunt's old phone, and it still rings for people who are already dead. Some inheritances are debts in disguise. I'm 24, I work as an accountant from home, and 3 months ago, my Aunt Marin died and left me her cottage. I moved in with my younger sister Sophie, who's 19 and doing her first year of college online. She took Marin's death hard. I took the spreadsheets. The village is the kind of place where the bakery closes at noon and the road out floods twice a year. Marin lived here her whole life. When the solicitor handed me the keys, he also handed me a biscuit tin full of buttons, hundreds of them sorted by color. Taped to the inside of the lid was a battered flip phone, the cheap kind you used to get free with a top-up card. No charger, no SIM I could see. I assumed it was sentimental. Marin collected odd things. I put the tin on the kitchen dresser and forgot about it for almost 2 weeks. It rang at 3 in the morning on a Tuesday. I want to be clear about this part because I've gone over it about 100 times. The phone had no charger. I had not plugged it into anything. It rang anyway. A thin little chirp that climbed up the stairs and into my room like it knew where I slept. Sophie didn't stir. I went down barefoot, lifted the lid off the tin, and the button shifted like something underneath was breathing. I answered because I'm an idiot, and because part of me thought it had to be a wrong number bouncing off a tower. It was a woman, older, soft-spoken, the way people sound when they're trying not to wake a child in the next room. She said, "Marin, love, tell Tyler the digging is finished. He can come home now." Then she hung up. No dial tone after, just that flat, dead air a flip phone gives you when the call ends. I sat at the kitchen table until the sun came up, telling myself it was a prank, a crossed line, anything. In the morning, I made coffee and ran the name through the local newspaper archive, the way I'd run a vendor through a search before approving an invoice. Tyler Brennan, 12 years old, vanished from this village in 1998 on his way home from football practice. Never found. I haven't told Sophie. I haven't moved the phone. It's still sitting in the tin on the dresser, on top of all those quiet little buttons, and I keep catching myself counting them when I walk past. And the tin had not yet given up everything it was hiding. One name she could call a coincidence. I didn't sleep after that first call. I sat at my work desk in the spare room with my laptop and typed Tyler Brennan's name into every search bar I could think of. The article was on the 3rd page of results, scanned in from a regional paper. Grainy photo at the top. A boy in a school jumper, gap-toothed smile, haircut the way moms cut hair in the 90s, with kitchen scissors and good intentions. He'd left football practice on a Thursday in October of 1998 and never made it the half-mile home. The piece quoted his mother. It said the village had organized search parties for weeks. It said the woods were thoroughly turned over. That phrase stuck in my head because the woman on the phone had said the digging was finished. I didn't tell Sophie. She came down the next morning in Marin's old cardigan with her hair in a knot, asked if we had any of the good cereal, and I just said yes and watched her eat at the table where I had been awake for 6 hours. She's only 19. She's doing her coursework from her bedroom because she cried every day for a month after the funeral, and we both agreed a campus would eat her alive right now. The last thing she needs is her sister telling her the cottage phones dead children. I tried to put it down to a one-off, a glitchy old handset picking up something of a nearby line. I almost believed it for 48 hours. It rang again on the Thursday, same hour, 3 in the morning on the dot. This time a man. Older, hoarse, like he smoked roll-ups and didn't drink enough water. He said, "Marin, is Caroline with you? The little one, the red coat. Her mother's asking." I didn't speak. I just held the phone to my ear and listened to him breathe until he made an impatient sound and the line cut. Caroline Vaughn, 9 years old, missing from this village since 1996. I found her on the second search result, in a red duffel coat too big for her, holding a stuffed rabbit by one ear. I bought a notebook the next morning at the village shop. A cheap green one, the kind I use at work for vendor reconciliations. I ruled 3 columns at the kitchen table: date and time, caller voice, name requested. I added a 4th for verified details, because that's what you do when something stops being a coincidence and starts being a pattern. My hands knew what to do before the rest of me caught up. Numbers I can handle. Numbers don't lie to your face. The cottage feels different now. The wallpaper in the hall is a sour yellow I never noticed before, like nicotine on a ceiling. The clock in the kitchen ticks too loud, and every time I pass the dresser, I look at the tin and I swear the buttons have shifted, sorted differently, tighter. When I lifted the lid this evening to check on the phone, the buttons underneath looked, for a second, like a mouthful of small wet teeth, and I put the lid back down without touching the handset at all. 2 names was no longer a coincidence. It was a column waiting for a 3rd entry. None of them said hello. They all said it like a shift handover. 3 more calls came in over the next 7 nights, and not one of them sounded like a wrong number. Monday, a woman who pronounced her R's the way the older farmers do. Maren, the parcel is wrapped. Are you ready for it? Wednesday, a different man, almost bored. Fields dry now. Tell her. Friday, the same hoarse voice from before. The roll-up smoker. The dog stopped barking. You can let yourself in. Every one of them called me Maren. Every one of them was talking shop, the way I talk to clients about quarterly returns. Clipped, practical. Nothing in any of them sounded supernatural. That was the part that hollowed me out. Ghosts don't ask if you're ready for the parcel. Ghosts don't give you operational updates. I sat with my green notebook open and started cross-checking the names that had come in so far against the archive site I'd been using. Tyler Brennan, 1998. Caroline Vaughn, 1996. The Monday call mentioned a Jamie. The Wednesday one used Little Neve. Friday's was just the dog. I found a Jamie Crow, missing summer of 2000, age 11. A Neve Doherty, missing autumn of 97, age 10. The dog I haven't placed yet. I don't think the dog is a dog. On Saturday, I drove the 40 minutes to the parish records office. I told the clerk I was sorting out a tax issue on the cottage and needed to confirm a few historical addresses. She let me sit with the registers for 2 hours. I copied dates, family names, last known sightings. 6 missing children from this parish across the late 90s. Every single name that had come down that flip phone matched one of them. I came home and Sophie was at the kitchen table in her pajamas, eating toast, and she looked up and said, "You're really pale, you know." I told her it was a long invoice week. She didn't believe me. She didn't push. That's worse, somehow. After she went to bed, I walked through the cottage with the lights on, properly, for the first time since we moved in. In the pantry, behind a sack of flour, Maren must have bought the week she died. There is a second phone jack screwed into the skirting board. The cottage has no extension. There never was a second phone. And on the inside of the cellar door, low down where you wouldn't look unless you were sitting on the floor, there are scratches. Short ones. At about the height a child's fingernails would reach if they were kneeling. I am writing this from the kitchen with every light on and the green notebook open in front of me. The tin is on the dresser. The phone has not rung tonight. I keep waiting for it to. The comments started arriving before she'd even refreshed the page. Moth in a lampshade. The detail about the button tin is what got me. People hide important things inside boring containers because nobody throws out a tin of buttons. Your aunt knew exactly what she was doing. Red Rover. Red Rover. Accountant brain is going to save you here. Treat the call log like a ledger. Who called? When? What name they asked for? Patterns will show up faster than you think.
2 days later, she came back with an update nobody wanted to read. I went back to Aunt Maren's button tin. I waited until Sophie was on a call with her tutor, and I took the tin into the back garden. I needed the daylight. I needed neighbors within shouting distance, even if my nearest neighbor is half a field away. I tipped the buttons out onto a tea towel. Hundreds of them, exactly as I remembered. pearl, tortoiseshell, plain plastic. At the very bottom of the tin, under a paper liner I had never lifted, there was a folded square of lined paper and a small brass key. The paper was a list in Marin's handwriting. Names, 8 of them. Beside each, a neat little tick in blue biro, the same kind of tick she used to put on her shopping receipts when she'd reconciled the change. Tyler, Caroline, Jamie, Neve, 3 more I had not heard yet. And at the bottom, one final name with no tick beside it, written more recently in a slightly shakier hand. Sophie. I sat down in the wet grass. I want to say I cried, but I didn't. I just sat. Then I went inside with the key. It fit the screws of the second phone jack in the pantry. Not the jack itself, the faceplate. The whole panel lifts out. Behind it there's a shallow drawer cut into the wall, and inside the drawer there's a hardback ledger. Columns ruled by hand. Date, name, age, payment received. And a final column headed, collected by T. T is Trevor, my Uncle Trevor, Marin's brother. We haven't spoken to him in 11 years, since he and my mother fell out over something nobody would ever explain to me and Sophie. The phone in the button tin is not haunted. It never was. It is a logistics line. Marin took the calls, Marin marked the names off, Trevor did the rest. There's a corkboard on the wall behind where the receiver used to sit, in the alcove I'd been using for a coat hook. Pinned to it, Sophie's confirmation portrait from when she was 12. Her current age written in pencil underneath, her height, the college she's enrolled in. Marin asked us for that photo 7 years ago, for her wall. We thought it was sweet. The last call I answered, the Friday one, when the man said, "The dog stopped barking, you can let yourself in." I think he was confirming the cottage was clear. I think he was confirming Marin was finally out of the way. I think they have been waiting for me to either join in or leave. I have not told Sophie. I have not called anyone. I am writing this from the pantry floor with the ledger open on my knees. Half remembered him. Take Sophie. Get in the car. Drive to a hotel 2 counties over tonight. Do not pack. Do not lock up. Do not tell anyone in the village where you went. You can come back for the ledger with the police escort. You cannot come back for Sophie. Fern Creek Postman. Oh no. Oh honey. Oh no. Her last edit went up sometime after midnight. I haven't told Sophie. I want to put that at the top because I know it's the first thing you're going to ask. I haven't called the police. I haven't taken the ledger to a solicitor. I haven't smashed the phone or pulled the second jack out of the pantry wall or driven Sophie to a hotel 2 counties over. The phone is in the bottom drawer of my work desk under a stack of last year's tax returns. The ledger is back where I found it. The corkboard with Sophie's photo is exactly where Marin left it. I know how this sounds. I have read your comments. I have read them all. I have a green notebook that is now 2/3 full, and a sister asleep in the next room who still thinks her big sister is just having a stressful invoice week. Last night, while I was writing the update for you, the phone rang in the drawer. I knew it would. I think I had been waiting for it. I took it out and I opened it, and I held it to my ear, and I didn't say a word. A man cleared his throat, older, the roll-up smoker. I'm almost sure of it. He said, "Marin, is the new girl ready yet?" I waited a long time, long enough that I heard him shift in a chair. Then I said yes. I said yes because I didn't know what else to say. I said yes because no would have ended a conversation I needed to keep open. I said yes because in the half second before I spoke, I realized that as long as they think Marin has been replaced and the line is still operating, no one is coming to the cottage. No one is coming for Sophie. The clock keeps running, but it doesn't ring. That is the truth I am sitting with at 4 in the morning. I keep thinking I should be doing something, packing a bag, phoning a number, walking into Sophie's room and shaking her awake and telling her everything. Instead, I am writing this and listening to her breathing through the wall and trying to work out which choice ends with my sister still alive at the end of the week. I haven't decided yet. I'll write again when I have. If I don't write again, the ledger is in a drawer behind the second phone jack in the pantry of the cottage at the end of Hollow Lane, and Trevor's surname is the same as mine. Quiet Brian. Please do not answer that phone again. Whatever script your aunt was following, you just told them the next handler is in place. That is the only thing they needed to hear. Half remembered him. You are typing too calmly for someone whose sister is the only name without a tick. I don't think you've decided. What you said you haven't decided. I think you decided when you said yes. That's the last story for tonight. If you stayed with me through all of it, hit subscribe and I'll keep reading them with you. My dashcam keeps catching the same license plate on every commute, and I live across the city from where I work. I'm 24, I work as a bookkeeper for a small accounting firm, and I rent a little 2-bedroom house with my roommate Olivia on the opposite end of the city from my office. The commute is brutal, 45 minutes on a good day, well over an hour when the highway decides to be a parking lot. I've done this drive 5 days a week for almost 2 years. Last year, someone clipped my bumper in a grocery store lot and drove off, so I bought a cheap dashcam off the internet. Front-facing, rear-facing, loops over itself every few days. I installed it, registered it in my head as solved problem, and basically forgot about it. I have never once sat down and actually reviewed footage for fun. Why would I? It's just me singing badly to the radio for an hour. 2 weekends ago, somebody tapped my back bumper in the lot at the pharmacy, and again, didn't leave a note. A small dent, nothing structural, but I was furious. My older brother Aaron came over that Sunday with coffee and offered to scrub through the SD card with me to see if we could catch the plate. Aaron is an engineer. When he says he'll go through footage, he means frame by frame, with a notebook, for 4 hours, while I make him sandwiches and try not to lose my mind. He never found the pharmacy hit. The camera angle was wrong. But about 3 hours in, he got quiet. Then he rewound. Then he rewound again. Then he turned the laptop around to face me and asked, very calmly, if I'd ever noticed the beige sedan. I hadn't. I'd never looked. He pulled up 3 clips. Tuesday morning, eastbound highway. Thursday night, a residential shortcut I'd taken exactly once because of a detour. Saturday afternoon, the parking lot of a garden center across town I'd visited on a total whim. 3 completely unrelated routes, 3 completely unrelated days. Same beige sedan, same plate, clear as anything. Aaron looked at me and said, Hannah, this isn't a coincidence. She hadn't looked. That was the part that wouldn't leave her alone. She wanted him to be wrong. He usually wasn't. I told Aaron he was being dramatic. It's a big city. There have to be thousands of beige sedans, and probably hundreds with vaguely similar plates. He's an engineer. His whole personality is finding patterns where the rest of us see static. I laughed it off, made him another sandwich, and told him I'd keep an eye out. He didn't laugh back. He took a sticky note, wrote the plate down in his blocky little capitals, and pressed it onto the inside of my visor. Just check, he said. For a week. That's all I'm asking. I rolled my eyes. I told Olivia about it that night, and we both kind of made fun of him. She said Aaron has been waiting his whole life for one of his little sisters to be in a thriller movie. Tuesday morning. I'm on the highway, the same stretch I've taken roughly 500 times. I glance up at the visor and feel stupid for even doing it. Then I look in my side mirror and there it is. 2 lanes over, half a length back, beige sedan. I couldn't read the plate from that distance, but it was the same shape, the same dent in the front bumper that the dashcam had caught. My hands went tight on the wheel, and I told myself it was a coincidence. Of course it was. People commute. Wednesday night, they had the eastbound off-ramp closed for resurfacing, so I took a back road detour I had genuinely never driven before in my life. It added 15 minutes. 2-lane road through a stretch of warehouses. I was the only car on it. Except I wasn't. About a mile in, headlights filled my rear view. Sat there for maybe 30 seconds, and then peeled off down a side street before I could get a good look. Beige. Sedan. I started actually trying. Thursday, I left 20 minutes earlier than usual, and took a completely different highway. The long way, past the airport. I saw it parked at a gas station I pulled into for coffee. Not pumping gas, just sitting there.
Friday, I made myself stop at a restaurant for takeout on the way home, somewhere I'd never been. It was in the lot when I came out. I haven't been sleeping well. I jump at red lights now. Every time the engine next to me revs, I feel it in my teeth. I keep telling myself I'm being paranoid, that Aaron put this in my head, that once you start looking for a beige car, you see beige cars everywhere. But the dent is always there, and the plate, when I can see it, is the one on my visor. She still hadn't told Olivia. Saying it out loud would make it real. I broke down on Sunday and showed Olivia the clips. She watched all 3 without saying anything, then watched the new one from the gas station, then very quietly said, "Hannah, you need to go to the police." So I went. I sat in the lobby of the precinct for almost an hour and then talked to an officer who was, to be fair, perfectly nice about it. He listened. He looked at one of the clips on my phone, and then he gently explained that nothing about what I was describing was actually a crime. The car had never approached me. Nobody had spoken to me, touched my vehicle, left a note, made any contact at all. It was a car on public roads. He suggested I file an informal report so there'd be a record, which I did, and that was that. He didn't even take the plate number with any particular interest. Monday at lunch, I mentioned it to my coworker Paige, half as a joke, because I needed to make it smaller in my head by saying it out loud, somewhere fluorescent and boring. Paige did not laugh. Paige put her fork down. She told me her cousin works at the Registry of Motor Vehicles and could quietly pull the name and address attached to a plate, as a favor, off the books, no questions, and would I want that? I said no. Then I said maybe. Then I said, let me think about it. I spent the rest of the afternoon staring at a spreadsheet I'd already balanced twice. That night, I stopped at a little coffee shop near the office on a complete whim. Somewhere I'd never been, picked because I liked the awning. I sat by the window with my drink for maybe 20 minutes. When I got up to leave, I glanced across the street out of pure habit, the way I do everywhere now. And there it was. Idling. Parking lights on. Not in a parking spot, just stopped against the curb. The shape of a person in the driver's seat, head turned toward the shop window I'd been sitting behind. I walked very calmly to my car. I locked the doors. I drove 3 random turns before getting on the highway. And from a red light, with shaking hands, I texted Paige 2 words. Do it. The comments came in fast. Most of them were not reassuring. Midnight cartographer. The fact that it's always already parked is so much worse than being tailed. Tailing is impulsive. Waiting is planned. Paperclip emergency. Your coworker pulling a plate for you is going to come back on her, by the way. Be careful who you tell at work going forward. Hollow Street resident. You said the house has been empty for months. Empty according to who? Mail piling up empty, or just lights off empty? Those are very different things. Lights off empty. That's the answer, and I feel stupid typing it. I never actually walked up to check the porch. Olivia mentioned once that she heard a garage door over there at night, but we assumed it was the wind because the place looked dead from the street. It was not dead. It was just quiet on the side we could see. 2 days later, her update went live, and the title alone told you everything. I ran the plate, and I think I'm going to be sick. Paige came through Tuesday morning. Her cousin sent over a name and a registered address and a vehicle description that all matched. I'm not going to post the name. The address is what matters. Before I opened the message, I made myself sit down with Aaron on a video call and go back through the dashcam footage one more time, very slowly, the way he had the first time. He'd noticed something on the second pass that he hadn't wanted to say out loud yet, and he wanted me to see it for myself. The car is never behind me, in any of the clips. Not on the highway, not on the detour, not on the airport route. It's always already parked. Already at the gas station when I pull in. Already on the curb at the coffee shop. Already in the warehouse side street when my headlights sweep past. He isn't tailing me. He has never once been tailing me.
He's getting there first, which means he knows where I'm going before I do. Aaron was very quiet about it. He said, "Hannah, open the address." I opened the address. I read it twice. Then I walked to the front window of my house and counted the doors. It's 2 houses down from us, on the same side of the street. The little place with the overgrown yard and the curtains always drawn, that Olivia and I have been calling the empty house since we moved in. We genuinely thought it had been vacant for months. No lights at night, no car in the driveway during the day. A real estate sign that's been leaned against the porch railing for so long, the paint has faded. There's no car in the driveway during the day, because during the day, the car is wherever I am going to be. He goes out before I leave for work. He comes back after I'm asleep. Olivia thought she heard a garage door over there a few nights ago. She did. I am writing this from Aaron's apartment. We left within an hour of figuring it out. I have not been back. I do not know what to do next. Olivia is still at the house tonight, packing a bag, with a deadbolt thrown and Aaron's friend parked out front. I feel insane. I feel like I should have known. The dashcam saw him for 3 weeks, and I never once thought to wonder why he was always already there. Throwaway curbside. A beige sedan is the perfect surveillance car. Nobody describes a beige sedan. Nobody remembers one. Whoever picked it knew that. Glove box ghost. I had something similar in 2019. Same car, different lots. It stopped the week I sold my vehicle. I don't think that's a coincidence, and I don't think yours will stop either. Deadbolt Diane. Please tell me you checked if the registration address matches anyone you went to school with. That kind of patience usually has history. Midnight cartographer. This. People don't pick a target across a whole city at random. Whoever this is knew her route options before she did, which means they already knew where she lived and where she worked. The dashcam didn't catch a stalker starting. It caught one who was already finished setting up. I've been getting a lot of messages asking what happened next, so here's where things stand. The lease is the problem. We're locked in for another 7 months. I called the landlord crying, and he was sympathetic, in the way landlords are sympathetic, which is to say, not at all. There is a clause for documented harassment, but a polite, informal police report and 3 dashcam clips of a car in public lots is not, apparently, documented harassment. He offered to ask around about the neighbor. I told him, please do not do that. Olivia cannot afford the rent by herself. She just can't. She works retail, and she's stretched to take this place with me in the first place. I am not going to break her lease and her budget and ghost her over something that, technically, is happening to me and not to her. I love her too much for that. Aaron wants me to move in with him. He has a spare room, and he means it. But his apartment is a solid hour further from my office, in the wrong direction, and my job won't let me go remote. I'd have to quit. I almost did. I sat in his kitchen for a long time, thinking about whether a paycheck is worth this. And the honest answer is that without it, I lose my health insurance and my car payment, and probably my half of the rent I'm now stuck with anyway. So this is a compromise we landed on. I'm back at the house. I park 3 blocks away in a different spot every night. I walk in through the back alley and come up over the fence into our yard. I've started rotating between 3 coats and 2 pairs of shoes that look nothing alike. I leave at slightly different times. I take the train some days when I can stomach the transfers. The beige sedan is in its driveway every single morning when I peek through the blinds. Every morning. He hasn't moved it in almost 2 weeks. He's waiting. He knows the second I get back behind the wheel of my car on a normal schedule, he's back in business. And he is patient enough to just sit there until I crack. I know he knows I know. I see the curtains in that front window move sometimes. Not a lot, just enough. I don't have a clean ending for you. I have a deadbolt, a brother who calls me every night at 10, a roommate who walks me from the car when I do have to drive,
and 7 months on a lease I cannot escape. That's the update. That's the whole thing. If anyone wants to make a partial plate so you can keep an eye out in my area, message me. I'm done being polite about this. Olivia's roomie. No. Wait. Your roommate's name is Olivia, and you live 2 doors down from the registered owner? Have you asked her if she's noticed anything? Sometimes the person closest to you sees the pattern first. That's Hannah's story. On to the next one. A handyman I hired 6 months ago came back last night asking to retrieve something he left behind the drywall. I'm 37, a freelance photographer, and I live alone in the cottage my mother left me when she passed last spring. It sits at the end of a dirt lane outside a town most people couldn't find on a map. My nearest neighbor is Vanessa, maybe a quarter mile down the road, and after her, there's nothing but pine and a creek that you can hear at night if the wind is right. I like it that way. I edit most of my work after dark, headphones on, one lamp burning in the kitchen, and the silence outside is so complete it feels like a held breath. Back in April, I had a small water stain blooming on the drywall in the back bedroom, the room that used to be my mother's. Vanessa gave me the number of a local handyman named Spencer. He came out the next morning, quiet guy in his 50s, clean truck, polite in that careful country way where they don't quite meet your eyes. He cut out the damaged section, patched it, sanded it, repainted the whole wall so the seam wouldn't show. Took him most of a day. I paid him in cash, he thanked me, and that was it. I genuinely did not think about Spencer again, not once in 6 months. Last night, somewhere around 11, somebody knocked on my front door. Nobody knocks on my door at 11. I don't even get deliveries out here past 5. I muted the song I was working to and just stood there in the kitchen, waiting to be sure I'd actually heard it. Then it came again. 3 soft knocks, almost apologetic. It was Spencer. Same jacket, same boots, hands folded in front of him on the porch like a man at a funeral. He apologized for the hour twice before he even said what he wanted. Then he asked, very gently, if he could come in and pop out one panel of the back bedroom wall. Just the one. He said he'd left something in there a while back, and he'd finally come to collect it. I asked him what he'd forgotten. He looked at me for a long moment, the porch light yellow on the side of his face, and he said, "It isn't mine, ma'am. It belonged to your mother. I was told to put it in that wall a very long time ago, long before you ever called me." She had only lived in that cottage for a year. I did not open the screen door. I have a heavy wooden inner door with a chain on it, and I kept it cracked just wide enough to see his face, and the porch railing behind him. My phone was in my left hand, with the keypad already showing 911. I think Spencer could see that. He didn't seem to mind. I asked him what he meant, told me to put it there. Who told him? He looked down at his boots. He said, "Your mother did. Eleanor did. A long time ago." And the way he said her name, just Eleanor, not Mrs. Hale, not your mom, like he'd said it across the kitchen table 100 times, did something to me. My mother never mentioned a Spencer in her life, not once. I asked him what was in the wall. "I'd rather not say it out here, ma'am." I asked if it was the only one. He took a breath that looked like it had been waiting in him for years. "No, there are others like it, different houses. I wasn't supposed to come back unless something changed." He didn't say what had changed. He didn't have to. She had died. That's when I looked down and saw what was in his other hand. A small flat pry bar, the kind you'd slip behind a baseboard, and a little black flashlight clipped to his thumb. He'd come up my steps already holding them. He had not expected to be turned away. I told him to come back in the morning, in daylight, with his phone on speaker and my neighbor Vanessa standing in my driveway, though I didn't say that last part. He nodded once, slowly, like a man receiving a sentence he'd already accepted. Then he said, very softly, "Please don't open it yourself, ma'am. That isn't what she wanted." And he turned and walked back to his truck, and the gravel popped under his tires,
and the red of his taillights stayed in my eyes long after they were gone down the lane. I bolted the front door. I bolted the back door. I checked the bathroom window that doesn't always latch. Then I turned every light in the house off and sat on the kitchen floor with my back against the cabinets, looking down the dark hallway toward the bedroom that used to be hers. The wall did not look any different. That was somehow the worst part. I gave up on sleep around 2 a.m. and went to the storage closet for the file boxes I'd shoved in there after the funeral. I had not opened them. I kept telling myself I would do it on a weekend, and then a weekend would come and I'd photograph a wedding instead. I dragged 3 boxes to the kitchen table and started with the bank statements, because they were easiest to read in the dark with one lamp on. My mother kept everything, decades of it, paperclip by year. The rubber bands turned to dust. It took me about an hour to see the pattern. The 15th of every month, a cash withdrawal in the same amount. $400, every single month, going back further than the statements I had in front of me. The amount never changed, even when the bank changed, even when the account changed. It looked like a utility bill she was paying by hand, except no utility cost the same thing for 20 years. I texted Vanessa. I knew she'd be up. She's 71 and barely sleeps. I asked her, as casually as I could at 3 a.m, whether she'd ever known a handyman named Spencer working for my mother. She wrote back in under a minute. Honey, Spencer's been doing little jobs for your mama as long as I've lived on this lane. He patched something for her at the old rental on Burnt Hill Road too, years before you moved back. Why? I didn't answer her. I sat there with the phone face down on a stack of statements, and I felt the floor of my life shift about half an inch. So I did the thing you're not supposed to do. I opened the browser. I made a throwaway, and I wrote it all out on r/nosleep at almost 4 a.m, because I needed strangers more than I needed sleep. I asked what I should do. I told them I was alone. I told them about the wall. The replies started coming in before I'd finished my coffee. One of them stopped her hand halfway to the cup. Pine Grove Lurker. The fact that he came at 11 at night and was polite about it is the part scaring me. He didn't want to be seen from the road. Fern Creek Ann. I grew up 2 towns over from somewhere like this. Spencer is not an uncommon name for a guy who does work for old families quietly. Ask your neighbor Vanessa how long he's been around. I bet it's longer than you think. I walked down to Vanessa's at sunrise after I posted this. She's 71. She told me Spencer patched the wall in my mother's kitchen the summer I was born, and she remembers because my mother wouldn't let anyone inside the house for 3 days afterward, not even her. I have been in this cottage my whole life, and I never knew that. A few hours later, she came back and posted an update from the kitchen table. I opened the box. There was a second child. I couldn't wait for daylight the way I told him I would. I'm sorry to everyone who told me to call the police first. I will. I just couldn't sit in that house with that wall 1 more hour. At first light, I took a utility knife and a flat bar to the back bedroom. The patch came out clean, in one rectangle, almost like he'd cut it, knowing somebody would need to lift it again. Inside the stud bay, resting on the insulation, was a small wooden box. Hand-jointed, no hinges, no markings, sealed shut with what looked like beeswax along the seam. Maybe the size of a hardcover book. I did not open it right away. I made myself sit down. I called Spencer. He picked up on the second ring like he'd been holding the phone. I asked him to tell me the truth, all of it, or I was going to the sheriff with his name. There was a long quiet on his end, and then he said, in a voice that sounded older than he is, "Your mother never hired me, ma'am. Marcus did." My brother Marcus, the one I haven't spoken to in 9 years. The quiet one who handled the funeral paperwork and signed everything over to me without a fight. Spencer told me Marcus has been paying him in cash since I was a teenager. $400 a month, every month, the same date. Not to fix anything, to seal identical wooden boxes into the walls of every house our mother ever lived in. Burn Hill Road, the little apartment over the pharmacy, this cottage twice. He said our mother had asked Marcus, when I was very small, to make sure I never found what was inside. And Marcus had decided the only way to be sure was to put it somewhere I would never think to look. Spencer was the one who knew which wall in which house. He kept the list. He kept it in his head. When my mother died, Marcus told him the job was done. Spencer said he tried to leave it alone. Then he heard through Vanessa that I'd moved back in permanently, and he couldn't sleep at night knowing the box was still in there with me. He came at 11 because he didn't want me to see his truck from the road. I asked him what was in it. He said, "I never opened them, ma'am. I just put them where I was told." Then he said, "Please, when you do open it, don't do it alone." And he hung up. I'm looking at the box on my kitchen table right now. I haven't opened it yet. I'm posting this because I want a record of what it looked like before, in case after is different. Moth in a jar. Has your brother always been estranged, or did something specific happen? Because him paying a stranger for 20 years to hide things from you is not a small family argument. Drywall Dave. Contractor here. Nobody forgets something behind the sealed patch. If he sheetrocked over it, he placed it there on purpose, and he knew exactly which stud bay it was in. Do not let him back in that house. Obsidian kelp. Agreed, and add to this. A guy doing it for 20 years across multiple houses means he has a system. There are probably other walls in other houses with other boxes, and OP is the only one of them who ever called him back. I'm adding these at the bottom of the same update because I don't trust myself to write a new post yet. I opened the box. I used the dull side of a butter knife along the wax seam because my hands were shaking too hard for anything sharper. The lid lifted off in one piece, the way a watch case opens. Inside, on top, was a stack of photographs, my baby photos. I knew them instantly because I've seen the matching ones in my mother's albums my whole life. Me on a hospital blanket. Me on the porch of the Brent Hill house. Me at what must have been my first birthday, with a paper hat falling over one eye. Except in every single one of these, somebody had been cut out beside me. Not torn, cut. Clean, careful work, done with a small blade by somebody who took their time. In some, only a tiny hand was removed from the edge of the frame. In others, a whole shape the size of me sat next to me as a ragged white silhouette where another baby used to be. The same baby, over and over, scissored out of my entire first year. Underneath the photographs was a hospital bracelet. Tiny, yellowed, the plastic gone soft. It had a name on it. The name wasn't mine. I sat there for I don't know how long. Then I went to the window. Spencer's truck was gone from the end of the lane. I don't know when he left. I don't remember hearing him. I have called my brother Marcus 11 times this morning. It goes to voicemail on the first ring every time, which means he's seeing my name and pressing the button. He knows. He has always known. I'm sitting in the cottage my mother left me, and I keep thinking about the word left. She didn't leave me this house. She built it around something, and then she left me inside it. Marcus paid a stranger for 19 years to keep the walls quiet, and someone, somewhere, has spent 37 years being the baby who got cut out of the picture. I don't know what to do with the bracelet. I don't know whose name to say out loud. I'm going to call the sheriff now. I just wanted to post this first, in case. Half decaf horror. Please tell me you took the box out before you let yourself fall asleep. He knows the wall. He can come back when you're not there. And on that name she still hasn't said out loud. On to the next one. There's a follower who comments the weather at my house before I post anything, and I just realized he's never been wrong. I'm 29, I work as a vet tech at a small clinic, and I live with my mom Laura in this creaky old house at the end of a dead-end road. 2 stories, peeling paint, a back porch that sags toward a pond. It's quiet, that's the whole cell. We've been here my entire life. About a year ago, I started running an Instagram for the clinic's adoptable cats. Nothing fancy. I'd bring fosters home on weekends and snap pictures of them on the back porch railing, or curled up on the kitchen tile with the morning sun on them. My coworker Claire writes most of the captions because mine are, in her words, depressingly clinical. Between the two of us, we rehome maybe 40 cats. It's a good little thing. Around 5 months in, a follower showed up. No profile picture, no post. Username is 4 letters and a year. Looks like somebody's initials and a birthday. I'll call him E for now. From the first photo he commented on, it was always the same kind of thing. Wind picking up from the west, oak leaves turning. Ponds flat tonight, smells like rain by morning. Porch boards still wet from the sprinkler. At first I figured he was a neighbor, being friendly in a weird way. Then I figured a bot, because who keeps that up for months? But here's the thing, I only put together yesterday. He only ever comments on photos taken inside the house or out back. Never the ones I take at the clinic. Never anything from the front yard. And every single observation matches what's actually happening at my house at the moment he posts it. Yesterday his comment said, fog sitting low on the pond, 3 deer at the tree line, porch light flickering. I read it on my lunch break and laughed, because I hadn't posted anything in 2 days. I drove home that night, parked, walked around back before going inside. Fog on the pond, 3 deer, frozen, watching me, and the porch light stuttering on and off like a bad heartbeat. I haven't slept since. He went back to the beginning. He should have stopped there. I spent most of last night scrolling through every comment this account ever left. There are about 90 of them. I read each one twice. Every single comment is from the back of my house, not metaphorically, specifically. The angle of the late sun through the big oak by the pond. The wind chime my mom hung off the gutter the summer my dad left, which you can only hear from the porch. The way the pond surface looks when a cold front is rolling in from the north field. Things you would only ever notice if you were standing right where I stand when I take those photos. Not one comment references the front yard. Not the driveway, not the road, not the mailbox, not the neighbors a quarter-mile down. As if the front of the house doesn't exist to him. And every comment is timestamped 1 to 2 hours before I uploaded the photo it's attached to. I never noticed because Instagram just says 15 weeks ago or whatever. You have to dig to see the actual time. So this morning I tested it. I brought home a foster kitten, set her on the kitchen floor, and snapped the photo on my phone at 10:15. I did not upload it. I did not text it to anybody. I put my phone face down on the counter and went to fold laundry. At 11:04, a new comment appeared on a post from 3 months ago. Kettle on. Your mother is on the phone in the hallway. Kitten under the table. The kettle was on. My mom was in the hallway, talking to my aunt. The kitten had crawled under the kitchen table maybe 10 minutes earlier. I hadn't moved from the laundry room. I told Claire about it at work today, trying to make it sound funny. She laughed once and then stopped laughing. She told me to block the account, delete the app, take a break. So at lunch I opened Instagram, went to his profile, hit block, confirmed it twice. I checked again 20 minutes later. He's still in my followers list. Still there tonight. The block button on his profile reads, block, again, like I never pressed it. I don't know what I'm dealing with. Whatever was watching, it wasn't asking permission anymore. I called Derek. We grew up 2 streets apart, and he's the only person I know who actually understands how Instagram's backend works. I sent him screenshots and the username. He spent half a Saturday digging. He came back with nothing. No connected email visible from his end. No profile creation date he could pin down. No posts ever made. No likes given anywhere else on the platform. The username is 4 letters and a year. The kind of thing that looks like initials and a birthday. Or, like he put it, somebody's first car or last day. Derek told me to change my locks, get a camera on the back of the house, and stop posting. I did 2 of the 3. I haven't slept properly in 5 nights. I've been sitting on the porch after my mom goes to bed, flashlight across my lap, sweeping the tree line every few minutes. There's nothing out there. I check the crawl space door twice before I go inside. There's nothing in there either. The comments started getting personal 3 days ago. Gray hoodie tonight, the one with the bleach stain on the cuff. Correct. You've been crying again. Don't let her see. Correct. I'd been sitting in the truck in the driveway after work, with my face in my hands, because a dog we'd had at the clinic for a month didn't make it. My mom had no idea. She left her reading glasses on the porch railing. They'll be wet by morning. I went out at midnight, and there they were, folded on the railing, beaded with dew. I posted a screenshot of the account here a few hours ago, asking if anyone had ever seen a follower like this. The responses came in fast, and none of them made me feel better. Moth under glass. The detail about the porch light flickering when you hadn't posted is what got me. He's not watching your feed, he's watching your house, and using your feed as the inbox. Quiet Carl. You need to stop reading the comments it leaves. Whatever it is, it only knows what you acknowledge. The mirror thing started after you looked at the first comment, didn't it? Yes. The first mirror message showed up the morning after I replied to one of his comments, asking who he was. I hadn't connected those two things until you said it out loud, and now I feel sick. I haven't replied to anything since, but it doesn't matter anymore. It has my attention, and it knows it. Long shadow okay. My grandmother used to say breath on a mirror was the cheapest mail a ghost could send. I laughed at her until I read this. 2 days later, Caleb came back with an update none of us were ready for. We left the house. It followed me into the mirror. I finally sat my mom down at the kitchen table and showed her everything. The screenshots, the comment history, the username, those 4 letters in that year. She looked at the year first, then the letters. Her hand went up to her mouth and stayed there. She told me something she'd kept from me my whole life. The back half of our house, the part with the kitchen and the porch and my bedroom, was built in the early 70s, on top of an existing stone foundation. The foundation belonged to a hunting cabin that burned down in 1961. A man died in the fire. She said the realtor had mentioned it once, in passing, when she and my dad bought the place, and she decided I never needed to know. The initials of the man who died are the same 4 letters in the username. The year of the fire is the year in the username. I took a flashlight and crawled under the house. The newer joists are pine. Underneath them, the original foundation is still there, blackened, half buried. On one beam, scratched in deep with something sharp, are 4 letters in the year. Same letters, same year. The carving is old, older than me. I came back up coated in dirt and shaking. That night, no new comments on Instagram. None the next morning either. The account is still in my followers list, but it has gone completely quiet, like something finished saying what it needed to say. I thought maybe it was over. Then tonight, I took a shower. I stepped out, reached for my towel, and there was a sentence written in the condensation on the mirror, in a slow, careful hand. She is on the porch in the blue cardigan. The chimes are moving. She is holding the cordless phone, but not speaking into it. I ran out of the bathroom wet and barefoot. My mom was on the porch in her blue cardigan. The wind chime was swinging. She had the cordless in her hand and was just standing there looking at it, like she'd forgotten who she meant to call. We're at Derek's tonight. We left with 2 bags. I don't know what we go back for, or when, or whether the mirror was the new mailbox, or just the first one I noticed. Rurality. Check the property records for the parcel, not just your house. Dead-end roads in old farm country almost always have a second structure on the deed that nobody talks about anymore. Bryn Hollow. This. And check the fire marshal's archive if the county has one digitized. A cabin that burned in 1961 would have a report, and if anyone died in it, the name will be right there next to those initials. Bryn Hollow. Vet tech here too. The animals know. Has the clinic cat you bring home been acting weird near any specific wall? Mine alerted on a wasp nest in drywall once. Same energy. We were out within the week. My mom didn't argue. Derek helped us load the truck on a Saturday morning, and we drove away from that dead-end road with the back of the cab full of clothes and the cat carrier from the clinic on the passenger seat. We signed a year lease on a small rental across town. 2nd floor, no porch, no pond, no oak tree. The kind of place with cheap blinds and a parking lot view. I checked Instagram on the first night. The account was gone. Not blocked, not deactivated. Gone. Like it had never existed. My follower count had dropped by 1. I sat on the new couch with my mom, and we cried a little, and laughed a little, and ate pizza out of the box. For about 3 days I thought we'd actually outrun it. On the 4th morning, I leaned over the bathroom sink to brush my teeth. The mirror was foggy from my mom's shower. I watched the sentence draw itself, slowly, in the steam right in front of my face. Head tilted left, chipped blue mug in the right hand, the handle facing the window. I wasn't holding a mug. I went to the kitchen. My mug from the cabinet, the blue one with the chip on the rim, was sitting by the coffee maker where I'd left it. I picked it up. The handle turned toward the window without me thinking about it. It happened again in the break room at the clinic 2 days later. Claire walked in while I was staring at the microwave door and asked if I was okay. I lied. It happened in a gas station bathroom 2 towns over, on a drive I took just to see if distance mattered. It doesn't. So here is where I am now. I shower in the dark. I brush my teeth with my eyes closed for a while, and then I just move my toothbrush to the kitchen. I haven't looked at my own reflection in about 4 months. My mom doesn't know that part. She thinks the move worked. Maybe whatever was under that house wasn't tied to the house. Maybe it was tied to being seen, and I'm the one who kept looking. I don't know. I just know that every reflective surface in my life is a window now, and I am very tired of being the view. Deleted username. The username matching initials in the crawl space is going to live in my head forever. Please tell me you photographed the beam. And on that one, we move on to the next story. I am 27, I live alone in a cottage, and a ranger warned me about a cabin that burnt down in 1986. I can see its lights from my window. Some warnings you only understand after you've already broken them. I'm 27, I work as a freelance copywriter, and 6 weeks ago, I did the thing every burnt-out writer fantasizes about. I rented a tiny cottage in the foothills. No neighbors for half a mile, no streetlights, no nothing. My older sister Emily found a listing for me. My best friend Brooke told me, very lovingly, that I was insane and that this was how true crime podcasts started. I laughed at her. I am no longer laughing. The first morning, I went on a hike along the ridge trail behind the property. About 40 minutes in, a park ranger came down the path toward me. His name tag said Logan. He was maybe 35, friendly in the way rural people are friendly, which is to say, polite but watching you the whole time. We chatted about the weather, the trail, where I was staying. When I pointed out my cottage roof through the trees, his face did something I didn't like. He said, very calmly, that he needed to tell me one thing. If I ever looked out my kitchen window at night and saw lights past the ridge, through the pines, I was not to walk toward them, not ever. He said a cabin used to sit up there, and it burned down in 1986, and that people who went looking for those lights came back wrong. His exact word, wrong. I nodded the way you nod at someone who clearly believes what they're saying. I figured it was a local ghost story he told every renter to keep them off the private land up there. I thanked them and kept walking. That evening I made pasta. I was rinsing the pot at the sink when I glanced through the kitchen window, and there they were. Warm yellow lights, 4 or 5 of them, flickering through the trees exactly where Logan said the ruin should be. Like someone had every lamp in a little house turned on at once. I stood there for probably 10 minutes just watching them. Then I closed the curtains and told myself I'd deal with it in the morning. The next night, I did something stupid. I grabbed a flashlight, put on my boots, and walked up to the ridge. It took maybe 20 minutes. When I got to the spot where the lights should have been, there was nothing. A charred stone foundation full of weeds and saplings, the outline of what used to be a small cabin, and absolute black silence. No lamps, no people, no warmth, just a burnt scar in the woods. I stood there feeling ridiculous. I turned around to head home,
and that was when I saw my cottage through the trees, downhill, maybe a quarter mile away. Every single light inside it was on. The kitchen, the living room, the loft, the porch lamp, all of them blazing into the dark. I had left the cottage at dusk with everything off. I am sure of this because I remember thinking I'd save on the electric bill. I'm writing this from the cafe in the village. I have not gone back yet. She would go back, and the update she posted later that week is the part you need to hear. The mind will offer you any explanation rather than the real one. I walked down the ridge so fast I almost twisted my ankle twice. The whole way down, I was running through reasonable explanations. A power surge, a faulty breaker. Maybe the rental had some weird smart system Emily forgot to tell me about, and it defaulted to all on when something tripped. By the time I reached the porch, I had almost talked myself into it. I went in slowly. Front door still locked, deadbolt still thrown. Nothing knocked over, nothing moved that I could see. Just every lamp, every overhead, even the little hood light over the stove, all glowing like the place was hosting a party. I walked through every room with a kitchen knife in my hand and felt deeply, profoundly stupid the entire time. There was no one there. The loft was empty. The closet was empty. The shower was empty. I texted Brooke first. Her reply came back in under a minute, and it was just, "Get in your car and leave right now. I am not joking, Megan." I texted Emily next, more carefully, downplaying it. She told me to call Logan, that he'd given me his number for a reason, and that rangers deal with this stuff all the time, even if it turns out to be raccoons in the wiring. I didn't call him. I want to be honest about why. I felt embarrassed. I had been in this cottage for less than 72 hours, and I was about to phone a man I'd met once to tell him I got spooked by my own light switches. So I wedged a kitchen chair under the front doorknob, kept a lamp on in the bedroom, and lay there with my phone in my hand until I fell asleep around 4 in the morning. The next day, I did what I always do. Drove the 20 minutes into the village, sat at the cafe from 10 until almost 4, hammered out copy for 2 clients, ate a sandwich, drove home. Normal day, normal me. By the time I pulled into the gravel drive at dusk, I had mostly convinced myself the night before had been nerves and a weird breaker. I got out of the car. I looked up at the ridge before I even unlocked the door. The lights were back. Same warm yellow, same flicker, same spot through the pines. Burning steady like someone was home up there making dinner. I stood in the drive and watched them for a long time. I didn't go inside right away. I decided, standing there in the cold, that tomorrow night I was going to set my phone up on the kitchen sill and film them. Long exposure, whatever I could get. I needed proof, even if the only person I was proving it to was me. When I finally went inside, the cottage was dark, exactly the way I'd left it. I almost laughed. Then I walked into the kitchen and saw my favorite mug sitting in the sink, the blue one with the chipped handle. I had washed it that morning before I left. I remembered drying it. I remembered putting it back on the shelf above the coffee maker, because I always put it in the same spot. It was in the sink, with a half inch of cold coffee in the bottom. She didn't call Logan that night either. She would regret that more than anything. Small things you would forgive yourself for missing. Over the next 4 days, the cottage started doing little things that I kept explaining away, one at a time, the way you do. The paperback on my nightstand had a different bookmark in it. I used receipts. Whatever was wedged in there on Wednesday morning was a torn corner of a brown paperback, and I do not own a brown paperback. The bathroom rug, the small oval one in front of the sink, was turned around. I am precise about that rug, because the non-slip side curls if you put it the wrong way, and I trip on it. Someone had put it back wrong, and one morning, when I stepped into the shower, the whole stall smelled like a month's shampoo. Cedar, something sharp underneath it. Not mine. Gone by the time I got out.
I told myself I was tired. I told myself I was a writer making up a story because my actual work was boring me. I told myself a lot of things. Wednesday night, I set my phone on the kitchen sill and filmed the reads for almost an hour. The lights were there, same as always, flickering. When I watched the footage back at the cafe the next morning, I noticed something I could not unsee. The flicker had a rhythm, a slow pulse, dim and bright, every 30 seconds or so. And every time my kitchen bulb dimmed on the recording, because my fridge compressor was kicking on inside the house, the reed's lights dimmed in exactly the same beat. I did not understand what that meant yet. I sat there staring at it, thinking the wiring on the whole property must be linked somehow, which makes no sense. The reeds has no power lines. I posted the original story to this sub that afternoon, asking if anyone knew the local folklore about a cabin that burned in 1986 in this region. I was hoping someone would say, yeah, classic legend, every ranger tells it. Nobody did. Thursday afternoon, Logan pulled into my drive in his green truck. He said he was just checking in, making sure I was settling. He stood on the porch and would not come inside, even when I offered coffee. He asked, very casually, what my writing schedule was like, what hours I tended to be at the cafe in the village, whether I was a morning person or a night person, whether I had family coming up to visit at any point in the next few weeks. I answered all of it, every single question. I told him I went to the cafe around 10 and stayed until almost 4 most days. I told him Emily wasn't coming up until the end of the month. I told him I worked best at night, so I was usually awake until 1 or 2. He nodded the whole time, like a man taking notes without a notebook. Then he tipped his hat and drove off. I stood on the porch after his taillights were gone, and finally, I started to feel sick. The comments came in fast. 2 of them she read 3 times. Trail Mixtalia. The ranger warning you specifically about that reads is the part I cannot get past. Rangers warn you about bears. They do not volunteer dead cabin folklore to a stranger on day 1. Burnt orange. Please tell me you looked up the property records. If a cabin really burnt in 86, the county will have it on file. I checked yesterday from the cafe. There is no fire on record for that parcel, ever. There is also no cabin on the survey map. The ranger gave me a story about a building that the county says never existed, and I sat in that cafe for 4 hours believing him, while someone was probably in my kitchen. 2 days later, at 3 in the morning, she posted again. From the bathroom floor. He is in the house right now. Please help. I am typing this on the bathroom floor with the door locked. I do not have time to explain everything, so I'm going to put it in the order it happened in my head. I went up to the ridge yesterday morning in full daylight. I needed to see it's over and unafraid. I walked past the foundation and went further into the pines, the direction the lights always seem to come from. About 15 yards in, I found a tall mirror. A full-length mirror, the kind you mount on a closet door, propped against a pine trunk with 2 cinder blocks holding the base. It was angled straight down through the trees at my kitchen window. There is no cabin. There never was. The lights I have been watching every night are my own kitchen and living room, reflected back at me through the trees. I sat down in the dirt up there, and I cried for about 10 minutes, because everything else snapped into place at once. The shampoo, the mug, the bookmark, the bathroom rug. Someone has been in my house every single day while I was at the cafe. Someone has been watching me watch the fake lights. The mirror was so I would keep staring at the wrong part of the woods. I drove straight into the village. I checked the county records on my laptop at the cafe. There is no fire on file for that ridge, ever. There is no cabin on any survey. The only person who has ever told me that story is Logan. The only person who knew my exact hours at the cafe is Logan. The only person who could come and go from a remote rental without anyone asking questions is the park ranger who covers the district. I sat in the cafe until almost midnight, trying to figure out where to go. I have no other rental booked. Emily is 6 hours away. I told myself I would pack a bag, sleep in my car at the trailhead, drive out at sunrise. I came home 20 minutes ago. The front door chain was cut, clean, like with bolt cutters. The deadbolt was still locked. He has a key, and he wanted me to know he did not need the chain. I heard footsteps in the loft above me while I was standing in the entryway. Slow ones. He is not hiding. I walked backwards into the bathroom and locked the door, and I am sitting in the tub with a kitchen knife from the block. My phone has one bar. I am posting this because if it goes through, then somebody knows. Please, anything. Deadbolt Dan. The chain being cut is the only sentence in this post that matters. Stop replying to comments. Make noise. Break the bathroom window if you have to. Soft locked. Every light on when she turned around is not ghost behavior. That is a person telling someone else she is not in the house. Halberd and Hex. Agreed, and the ranger angle makes it worse. If he is the one keeping people pointed at the ridge, he is also the one who knows exactly which cottages are rented and when the renter goes into town. He does not need to break in. He has keys to every cabin in that district. She came back later that morning. She was alive enough to type. I am writing this from Emily's couch. I am okay. I want to tell you what happened after I hit post, because a lot of you stayed up with me, and I owe you that. The footsteps came down from the loft, maybe 2 minutes after I posted. They walked across the kitchen, paused at the hallway, and then they stopped right outside the bathroom door. He did not bang. He did not shout. The handle turned slowly, all the way to the stop, and clicked back. Then he said my name, in Logan's voice, calm, almost gentle. He said, "Megan, come on out. I can explain everything. You have nothing to be afraid of." I have never moved so quietly in my life. The bathroom window is small and high, and I had not opened it once the whole stay. I climbed onto the toilet tank, pushed the screen out into the bushes with the handle of the knife, and went through, head first, into the cold. Barefoot, in pajama shorts, with my phone in my teeth. I did not run toward the road. I ran away from the ridge and away from the cottage both, straight through the trees in the opposite direction. About a mile down the slope, there is a couple who keep horses. I had waved at them twice in 3 weeks. I pounded on their porch door until the husband opened it with a shotgun in his hands, and I just said, "Please call the sheriff. There is a man in my house." The deputies got there in under 20 minutes. I sat in the kitchen of those two strangers, wrapped in a horse blanket, and shook so hard I bit the inside of my cheek. They cleared the cottage. He was already gone. They found the mirror up on the ridge, exactly where I said it would be. They found a sleeping bag tucked into the crawl space under the back of the house, with empty water bottles and protein bar wrappers, and a small pile of my hair from the shower drain. Folded underneath the sleeping bag was a park ranger uniform jacket, with the name Logan stitched on the chest. He was not at the ranger station when they drove there at sunrise. His truck was gone. They are still looking. The sheriff told me Logan is not the name on his employment file. They are working on who he actually is. Emily drove through the night to get me. I left everything in that cottage except my laptop and my dog tags from my old apartment. Keys. I am staying with her now. I sleep with the hallway light on, and the bedroom light on, and the closet light on, and I keep the curtains shut all the way to the floor, because I cannot stand the idea of a window at night anymore. Thank you to everyone who stayed up with me in that bathroom. You were the only voices in the room. Quiet kettle. Does the cottage have a basement or a crawl space? Because if someone has been there during the day, they are sleeping somewhere when you come home, and it is not the guest room. Soft locked. You said every light in your cottage was on when you turned around. That is not the cabin doing anything. That is someone signaling you were not home. Thank you for sitting through all 5 tonight. If these stories keep you company, subscribe, and I will keep finding them.